doing today?
Can you hear me?
Yes, how are you doing today?
Good, good, good. Nice.
Yeah, thank you for calling in. It looks like you have some questions for me about the TN visa, a job that you've been offered, and your qualifications for that.
Yes, yes. Couple of questions. Yeah.
Okay. Now, it, have you ever worked or lived in the United States before?
Yes, yes. I have been working with the existing company since 2018.
Okay, and have you been working on a TN in the United
Yeah,
States
yeah,
for
TN.
them?
Yeah, yeah, TN. Exactly.
Okay.
And I think
And you
that
are Canadian, correct?
yeah, I'm Canadian, and
Born
I think
in where were you born?
India.
Okay. All right.
And the thing is, uh, I just changed the company one time and transfer the TN also.
Okay.
And another means transfer to switch the job means the new company.
Okay.
And with the existing company also, it's I think twice I renewed the TN.
Okay. So
So
this is so you're going back to get another 3-year time period for the same employer that you're currently on a TN for?
on yeah same 2018. Sorry,
Oh, okay.
2028. Sorry.
Okay, perfect. Um, all right. So um I've had a chance to look at the documents that you submitted. What questions do you have for me?
So I just try to switch another company, and I just presented the documents to the border. They said, oh, this whatever the offer letter is not as per the requirements, and it's same as other companies. So yeah, so that's so that the
So they refused you and they said it's because the support letter wasn't drafted properly?
offer offer letter was not proper. Will say why it's the same kind of because the thing is the new company, the owner, he didn't know about the tea and stuff. So I said, okay, this is the way it should be. This is the way it should be offered. But he unfortunately he just most of the contents he just copied or replicated.
Oh.
So that's the reason they said, "Oh, why it's come? It should not be like this or something." So that's
So they weren't
one thing.
satisfied with the offer letter.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
They said
yeah.
it looked copy and paste and is
But
that
it's
what their concern was?
ultimately it's the same kind
Now,
of job kind.
did they say anything else beyond the support letter?
No, they said generally we need the computer science degree uh, for this position.
Oh, so they also had a question about your degree.
Yeah, but then it's a twice means it has been now 8 years, right? 6, 7 years, so more than seven,
So
6 years.
now let me give you an update on things that have happened in the meantime since you had a TN, okay?
Mm,
June of this, it's 2025, they
mm,
actually updated and clarified the requirements for some TN occupations. One of the
mhm,
TN occupations that they did do an update on for clarification was a computer systems analyst, and that's the
mhm,
occupation that you're working under.
mhm,
And if you go and let me pull that up, if you go to the updated criteria,
mhm,
they do limit um, who qualifies for TN status as a computer systems analyst.
mhm,
Now, let me, as I'm looking this up and looking at your degree, and it looks like you have an equivalency here. Did they have a problem with your equivalency?
No, and they had, but I presented the document. So then they said, yeah, it's okay. But first,
Because
see, initially
it says it's a 2 year degree. I'm it, so, but they
it's a
didn't.
master. It's a master
Okay,
degree, and
so they ultimately accepted your degree on its face, but they had concerns that your degree wasn't in a IT field, is what it sounds like. Is that correct?
it's a yeah, it's a they said mathematics, but on top of that, I have the programming diploma degree also. Means diploma course.
Did you bring that with you?
Yeah. I've brought it at the time also. So they
Where
checked
was that
everything.
diploma from?
It's from India.
Okay, so they will not accept that. Okay.
Mhm.
A diploma has to be from North America, so either Canada or the United States. So they will
Mhm.
not accept your diploma from India, so that is not going to help your application. So going back to, it sounds like their main concern, because I looked at your support letter, I looked at your offer letter, it all looks above board. It has all the necessary information in it. I would have no concerns about those documents. Um, I don't think that's what their concern is. I think their concern here is simply your education. And when you go and you look at computer systems analyst under the updated criteria from
Mhm. Mhm.
USCIS, it
Mhm.
says a computer systems analyst requires a bachelor's degree, or in the alternative, a diploma or certificate and 3 years of experience. And as I just explained, a diploma has to be from Canada or the United States, and a certificate has to be from Mexico. Okay, so if you're relying on that component, it would be either one of those and 3 years of experience. And an acceptable post-secondary diploma credentials issued on completion of 2 more years of post-secondary education, and it explains what I just said from Canada or the United States. And then a certificate is from Mexico. And here's the important part of clarification that they issued for computer systems analysts. It says, while systems analysts may perform some programming, this category does not include programmers. A systems analyst is information specialist who analyzes how data processing can be applied to specific needs of users.
Mhm.
Um, Systems analysts study the needs of the organization to identify the needs and design computer systems that meet those needs. So, in your duties, what percentage of your work involves programming or coding?
Yes.
So,
Mostly,
very
yeah,
little.
analysis. Yeah, and yeah,
Okay, so less than 10% of your duties, would you say?
yeah, 10 around 10%.
Okay. And that's consistent with what they say is acceptable for computer systems analyst. So as far as your duties go, your duties seem to be consistent with what they would expect a computer systems analyst to do. So now when you go to education, this is where we've seen them more narrowly define what degrees they are accepting, not only for computer systems analysts, we've seen it,
Mm.
but we've also seen this for computer engineers. Um,
Mm.
they want degree if you're an engineer in computer engineering, they want that degree to be very specific to computer engineering and IT related position. Um, they're accepting less of the degrees that are engineering but they're not computer systems related per se. They're doing a more narrow definition of who qualifies. And we're seeing the same for computer systems analysts. Where in the past they had a lot more leniency with the degree, they're more narrowly defining what degree they're going to accept. And if you go to resources such as the Occupational Outlook Handbook from the Department of Labor, it does clarify who qualifies for computer systems analysts according to them. And when you look at that definition, it says that you typically require a bachelor's degree in computer and information systems technology or a related field, such as, and it specifically states mathematics.
Yeah.
So we are seeing some officers, however,
Yeah, mathematics. So that's what I have mathematics and computer science because when I read my courses, it contains that
Yep.
maths degree as well as computer science. Yeah.
Yep. And I see that here. So I think this comes down to some officers, and we've seen this practice recently, more narrowly defining based on their interpretation who they think qualifies as a
Yes,
computer systems
exactly.
analyst,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And they're
Yeah.
saying, well, you need to have a computer science degree. You don't qualify, which is actually incorrect. You
Incorrect. Yeah.
do not have to, it does it make it obvious that you qualify if you have a computer systems analyst degree? Of course it does, because you have a degree in computer science. Therefore, okay, you qualify under a computer systems analyst. However, you do qualify based on the Department of Labor requirements for computer systems analysts. Unfortunately, it sounds like the border is not going to approve you. It sounds like the border made their determination. Um, and now, at the end of that interaction, did they say anything such as, we recommend you filing by mail? Did they say anything at all to you
No,
at
no,
the
nothing.
end?
No, no.
They just turned you away and said, you don't qualify?
Yeah, for this one. But existing, then again, I entered the US. Right now, I'm also in the US. And on 24th, I went to the border, and then they said, "Yeah, check." Then they said, "Yeah, your existing TN is valid till 2028. So you are
Oh, so
good
they
with
admitted
working."
you, so they admitted you under your existing
Existing one,
TN to
yeah,
continue
yeah, yeah.
working for your current employer.
Current employee, yeah, yeah,
And that's valid till 2028, you said?
yeah, 28.
Okay, which is great. So unfortunately, it sounds like they're not going to entertain your application at the port of entry. They've made their determination that they don't think that you qualify, that your education isn't sufficient. Sometimes that happens. Now, that's not the end of the road. CBP is one authority. That's the ideal place to get a TN because you can get it approved right there on the spot, right?
Yeah,
And then can then start working. Well, sometimes the border doesn't make a correct decision, and you can get another opinion and you can go through USCIS. So in this case, once CBP puts their foot down, unfortunately, it's very difficult to get them to change their mind.
yeah,
So that means in cases such as this, then it often makes more sense to then file by mail with USCIS and get the opinion of USCIS. Now, USCIS, in my experience, is more open to, and this is what we call a closely related degree argument, that you qualify because your degree is closely related or is in the field that would qualify you as a computer systems analyst. And that's where you would point to resources such as the Occupational Outlook Handbook and other resources that clearly state that if you have a mathematics degree, you qualify as a computer systems analyst. So
hmm,
unfortunately, it sounds like that's what the predicament they've put you in here. They're not going to entertain you at the border. They made their decision. They say you don't qualify according to their interpretation of the regulations.
correct.
So, um, in this case, you we would say go to your employer, explain the situation, explain the mail-in process with U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, and that you're going to have to file by mail to get an opinion from USCIS. And the way that works, have you ever done a mail-in application with USCIS before?
But no,
Okay. And it unfortunately it takes a little bit longer and it's a little bit more costly to do a mail-in application because you have to pay government filing fees, and that's why a lot of people want to avoid USCIS altogether, um,
okay,
because you have to wait for that decision to start working for a new employer and you have to pay all the filing fees associated with it. Um, but like I said, USCIS in these cases tends to be the best place to go, especially if you've had issues at the border where they don't think that your education qualifies you. Um, so I would go back to my employer. I would explain the situation, let them know that unfortunately USCIS isn't going to entertain your application. And that means that you're going to have to file by mail with USCIS instead, which would require filling out forms and submitting supporting documentation to U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services to get their approval. Now, what happens in that case is once USCIS approves the case, you will get a formal approval notice from USCIS indicating they have approved you to work for this employer. The good thing is if you're already in the United States, like you stated, you can file to change employer without having to leave the United States. So you can file this application directly with USCIS. And once they approve it, then you can immediately start working for the new employer. You don't have to depart the United States and you don't have to go to the border. You can just completely go through USCIS and avoid having to go back to the border for their opinion at this point. So if your employer is willing, then you would have them file the petition to change your employment over to them by filing directly with U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services. And as soon as that's approved, you would be then authorized to work for the new
New one.
employer.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I have to talk to them. I don't know whether still
Yeah,
they are willing. Yeah,
and that's the unfortunate part is when you get into this battle with CBP sometimes, it puts a lot more work on the process, right? Whereas at the
yeah,
border, you can show up with an offer letter and a support letter, and it's rather easy on you and your employer. Well, now you have to fill out forms, you have to submit filing fees, and it takes several weeks to get a decision from
correct. So that's
USCIS.
what then till the time the new employer may not wait until they, yeah. So that's
Yep, and
also one question. So yeah, because they
that's
they
another
they
thing.
they need yeah, they need immediate person. So yeah,
Yeah,
let me
and we see
think
that
over it.
happen a lot. Yeah, the
Yeah,
employer's not, they need you now, they're not willing to wait. And it could take, I mean, realistically, in these cases with USCIS, even when you pay for what is called premium processing, we tell people you should expect at least 2 months before you're going to get approval.
oh, oh, so that's what it's a longer process. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
it could happen sooner, but USCIS, their 15-day premium processing, the way it really works. So you have 15-day premium processing, and they say, "Oh, we'll process your case in 15 days." Well, it's first of all, it's 15 business days. Okay,
Yes.
so
Yes.
that 15 business days, depending on holidays and weekends, can quickly turn into 30 days, right?
30. Yeah. Yeah.
Then what they often do is they'll issue what's called a request for evidence. And a request for evidence is them asking for more information and clarification before they'll approve the case. And if they ask for a request for evidence, then what it does is it stops the clock. And the clock doesn't restart again until you reply to that request for evidence. And it starts all over when you reply. It doesn't they don't play off of the old 15 days. You got a new 15 days. So
Mhm.
if you waited, 20 days to get that request for evidence, then you get it, takes a week or so to reply. Well, now they get another 15 business days to reply to your response to the request for evidence. And that's why we tell people, even though it's 15 business days, it could take 2 months, depending on, when they issue that
Yeah.
request for
Yeah.
evidence, how long it takes for you to reply. So realistically, you need to tell a potential employer, hey, this is the situation. Are you willing to wait? It could be a couple months before I can get authorization to work with you. And unfortunately, I'm going to have to file by mail with U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services.
Yeah. So I had to ask them, but they will not wait because they have some projects ongoing and they have to finish. So right. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
But again,
unfortunately. Yeah.
again, I'll touch base with them and then see how best they need.
In your situation, it's a gamble if you're going to go back to the border. There's no certainty that another border officer is going to entertain your application because you've already been turned away. And oftentimes what we see in that case is if you go to a different port of entry, even if you modify your documents, they're going to say, "Hey, you were already turned away before. you need to file with USCIS. We're not looking at your application, and they won't even entertain you.
Correct,
Um,
correct.
so that's the risk you take if you try to do it again at the border. Not to say that you can't try, but if there's
No,
no
it's
significant change to your documentation, they typically have a problem with you going back without any change in your documents. They don't like that. Um, in those cases, we typically recommend not going back to the border and filing with USCIS instead.
correct, correct.
Okay.
Got it. Yeah, yeah.
All right. Well,
Oh,
unfortunately, it sounds like based on your interaction with CBP, you're in a tough situation. I would go back to your employer. I'd have that conversation with them, explain what's going on, and see what their willingness is to
correct.
help you file by mail
Yeah,
with USCIS.
yeah. Mm,
Okay.
yeah. Thanks. Thanks for your
All right.
suggestions.
Yep.
Thank,
And thank you for calling in today. Hopefully, we were able to clarify the questions that you have, and we wish you the best of luck. Okay.
no, yeah, yeah. You did.
All right. Take
Thanks.
care. Bye.
Thanks.